Overview. Students can pick up food items this year, including milk and fruit. We'll be following the NSBP, NSLP meal patterns, so offer versus serve is required. Students need to choose the adequate components for a reimbursable meal. The POS is the final determination whether a meal tray is reimbursable. The POS can be in the cafeteria or at another location in the school. Cashiers control the flow of the line in order to monitor allergens, charges, and the meal pattern. Okay, let's review offer versus serve definitions. A food component is one of 5 food groups that are part of the USDA reimbursable meal pattern, and they are counted at lunch. A food item is a specific food offered within the 5 food components, like baked chicken or applesauce, and they're counted at breakfast. NSBP and SSO meal pattern for breakfast. A student must take 3 items, and 1 must be a juice or a fruit. 1 8-ounce serving of fat-free or reduced fat milk, 1 1/2 cup serving of fruit, 1/2 cup of fruit juice, and 2 grains. Breakfast grains will be 2 items this school year. Example, biscuits, Pop-Tarts, and biscuit with egg and cheese are 2 items. Fruit and juice must be offered daily at breakfast. Students may select a 1/2 cup of fruit, a 1/2 cup of juice, a 1/2 cup of fruit and juice, or 1 cup of fruit. A protein may be offered once the 1-ounce grain has been met for the day. Examples, biscuit and egg and cheese, biscuit and sausage, cheese biscuit, chicken biscuit. Students may take both items or just the biscuit or just the cheese omelet, but both items must be offered. You cannot offer just a sausage patty without a grain being offered. For OVS breakfast, the cashier must determine, did the student select at least a 1/2 cup of fruit? Did the student select at least 2 additional food items designated by the menu planner? Do not pre-plate food. When you pre-plate, you are not allowing OVS. Smoothies at breakfast. Fresh fruit smoothie for our high schoolers only contains 1 cup of fruit, 1 cup of milk, and 4 ounces of yogurt. Students cannot take any additional items as this is a complete reimbursable meal. Example of a complete breakfast tray. There's 1 cup of milk, low-fat flavored or fat-free unflavored. 2 and 3 are included in a 2-ounce grain biscuit. Number 4 is a 1/2 cup of orange juice. 5 is a 1/2 cup of applesauce, and 6 is the sausage patty, which is an extra item. Students must select at least a 1/2 cup of fruit or juice. Is this reimbursable? No, it is missing a 1/2 cup of fruit or juice. Is this reimbursable? Yes, the student could select 1 cup of fruit, juice, and applesauce, and 1 other item, milk, for a reimbursable meal. A grain is not required at breakfast. NSLP and SSO meal pattern and OVS. Fruit, vegetable, grain, meats or meat alternatives, milk, and a 1/2 cup of fruit or vegetable is required on every reimbursable lunch tray. Component versus item. A food component is one of 5 food groups that are part of the USDA reimbursable meal pattern. A food item is a specific food offered within the 5 food components, like baked chicken or applesauce, etc. Offer versus serve at lunch. Schools must offer 5 food components, milk, fruits, vegetables, grains, meat, or meat alternatives, in the amount required by the meal pattern for the grade group. Students must take 2 full components and a minimum 1/2 cup of fruit or vegetables. Grains can be split among 2 items, like chicken chunks and Texas toast. High schools must understand when a fruit and vegetable are selected as one of 3 components. Either the fruit or vegetable must be a full component. Split components. Components may be split into multiple items. Under OVS, the student must take at least the minimum required by the meal pattern. So a chef salad has meat, vegetable, and grain in multiple items. K through 8 full components. A grain is a 1-ounce equivalent. Meat or meat alternative is a 1-ounce equivalent. Fruit is a 1/2 cup. Vegetable is 3/4 of a cup. And milk is 1 cup. In 9 to 12 full components, the grain is a 2-ounce equivalent. Meat or meat alternative is a 2-ounce equivalent. 1 cup of fruit, 1 cup of vegetables, 1 cup of milk. Examples of grain components. 1 ounce equivalent for grains: rice, breadsticks, Texas toast, breading on chicken chunks and bone-in oven-fried chicken, spaghetti noodles, rotini noodles, single PBJ, or 1 slice of bread. A 2 ounce equivalent for grains would be a biscuit, a roll, a croissant, tortilla, a hot dog or a hamburger bun, 2 slices of bread, pizza crust, or the mini corn dog breading. For an offer versus served lunch, the cashier must determine, did the student select at least a half cup of fruit or vegetables? And did the student select at least 2 additional meal components that meet at least the minimum amount required by the meal pattern for the grade group? Is this reimbursable? Yes, it includes an extra vegetable, but encourage students to only take 2 vegetables. It's a full grain component. This is for the K through 8 and the 9 through 12 meal pattern. Is this reimbursable? Yes, for a K through 8 meal pattern. No, for a 9 through 12 meal pattern. Is this reimbursable? No, for K through 8 and 9 through 12 meal patterns. We need a half cup of fruit or a vegetable. Is this reimbursable? Yes, for the K through 8 and 9 through 12 meal pattern. SSP meal pattern. 2 components are required: grain and fruit juice or milk for PCS. You must take both items. Juice must be a 6 ounce juice. Grain item is a 1 ounce fruit item: cereal pouch, small muffin, goldfish, etc. Here we have our vegetable subgroups, which are dark green vegetables, red and orange, legumes, starchy vegetables, and then our others. Food Code Section 3-501.19 describes the requirements for using time as a public health control, or TPHC. Foods may be held for up to 4 hours after removing from temperature control at internal temperature of 41 degrees or below, or at 135 degrees or above. It is important to note that TCS foods held without cold holding temperature control for a period of 4 hours do not have any temperature control or monitoring. These foods can reach any temperature when held at ambient air temperatures as long as they are discarded or consumed within the 4 hours. Do not place TCS foods on serving line before 10 a.m. Most lunches end by 2 p.m., so adjust the times that you place foods on the line based on the ending time of any meal service. TCS foods may be on the serving line up to 4 hours. Once on serving line, do not place back in warming cabinet. Foods must be recorded on the meal production record to indicate the time the first pan of TCS food was placed on the serving line. Write the time on the MPR cover page in designated column. Discard any foods following time once reaches 4 hours from time recorded, or when meal service ends, it's less than 4 hours. Must have written procedures available upon request, and procedures must be followed exactly. There is no need for prior regulatory approval. However, written procedures must be maintained at establishment and provided upon request of regulatory authority. Foods shall be marked or otherwise identified to indicate the time that is no more than 4 hours past the point in time when the food is removed from temperature control. The food shall be cooked and served at any temperature if ready to eat or discarded, within 4 hours from the point in time when the food is removed from temperature control. Food in unmarked containers or packages, or marked to exceed a 4-hour time limit, shall be discarded. When used, the TPHC procedure is irreversible and for an uninterrupted 4 hours. For example, the food cannot be out for 1 hour, refrigerated 8 hours, and then out again. Once TPH starts, leftover foods cannot be saved for future service once the time expires. All specified foods following time will be discarded at the end of the breakfast or lunch meal period or when 4 hours has been reached. Practice batch cooking and stagger preparation. Consider pan size use, especially for end of meal service. So for example, if you have 2 classes left in lunch, would you want to place a 2-inch deep pan full of corn dogs on the line? Consider half size, 2 each deep pan at the end of service. Holding TCS foods using temperature. Any of these specified foods left in a warming cabinet or refrigeration that has never been placed on the serving line may be kept as leftover if the temperature has been maintained, 135 degrees for hot foods or 41 degrees for cold foods. The food is cooled and stored properly and clad, cover, label, amount, date prepared, and date to discard. Must be used within 3 days from date prepared. Guidelines using time. Pitt County School Nutrition Cafeteria staff will write the time the first pan is removed from the warming cabinet on the NPR in the column marked Time TPHC. All foods following time must be discarded once placed on the serving line and discard when 4 hours occurs from the time recorded that the first pan was placed on the serving line. Therefore, do not place foods on the serving line for the specified hot and cold foods too early. Know your meal service schedules for each day of meal service. Example number 1. Food is placed on the serving line at 10:30 a.m. All TPHC food not used must be discarded at 2:30 p.m., which is 4 hours from the start time. Example number 2. Food is placed on the serving line at 10:30 a.m. Lunch ends at 1:30 p.m. All cold and hot foods on serving line must be discarded that are following the TPHC, even though it has not been 4 hours. In both examples above, the staff must write on the NPR in the proper column the time the foods following the TPHC procedures were placed on the serving line. If this is not done and the health inspectors review forms and procedures, this will be a violation. In this production record covered page, TPHC on the hold, and then you fill in the time the first pan was placed on the line in this section. Time as a public health control. Again, TPHC for texture modified. 1. Procedure. Proper temperature prior to processing. Process within 1 hour of being delivered, picked up, or served. 2. Labeling. Label with student name, time removed from holding, and time to be consumed or discarded within 2 hours. 3. Service or discarding. Consume within 2 hours from being picked up. If not consumed, must be discarded. Let's practice. Okay, so food being picked up at 10:10 a.m. When should it be texture modified? Food label should have what recorded? What is the total time from being removed from holding to be consumed or discarded? Delivery form versus transport form.